In the hidden layers of human history, beyond the eyes of the ordinary world, and beneath the trappings of wealth, influence, and authority, there exists a symbol whose meaning is whispered in secret circles and whose power has long been feared by those who consider themselves untouchable. It is a symbol that refuses to bow to conventional hierarchies, that cannot be appropriated in the same way that titles, lands, or riches are, and yet exerts a magnetic pull over the human imagination. This symbol is known as the Black Sun, a concept that threads together the mysterious forces of transformation, cosmic power, and inner illumination. It is not merely a decoration, a sigil, or a motif. It is an emblem of ultimate knowledge, a mirror to the hidden dimensions of existence that most fear to confront, and a light that can illuminate the shadows of even the most fortified minds. The Black Sun has always existed on the edges of human perception, lurking in mythologies, whispered traditions, and esoteric texts, a presence that defies ordinary explanation. Unlike the familiar symbols of authority that dominate human societies, crowns, scepters, flags, and seals, the Black Sun operates in silence, touching the inner landscapes of consciousness and calling forth powers that are impossible to control through force, wealth, or fear. It is a representation of transformation, a hidden engine of spiritual energy that illuminates the cycles of death and rebirth, both in the world and within the psyche. Where conventional power seeks obedience and compliance, the Black Sun demands self-confrontation, inner authority, and a willingness to face truths that are unsettling, destabilizing, and ultimately liberating. And yet, despite the immense influence wielded by political dynasties, corporate empires, and secretive elites, the Black Sun remains a source of deep fear and caution. It is not feared for its capacity to destroy in the literal sense, but for its ability to bypass every system of control ever devised, reaching directly into the essence of human will and perception. It challenges hierarchies, undermines authority, and exposes illusions that the powerful have painstakingly constructed over centuries. The question that defines the tension surrounding this symbol is simple, yet profound. Why do those who possess the world's wealth, knowledge, and influence instinctively recoil from it? And why do they avoid confronting the truths it represents? In this video, we will explore the origins, the history, the mystical interpretations, and the unsettling psychological implications of the Black Sunday, following its trail from ancient mythologies to the secretive rituals of modern elites, uncovering why this enigmatic symbol has endured as both a tool of transcendence and an object of fear. By examining the Black Sun, we confront not just a symbol, but a challenge to our understanding of power itself. It is a force that exposes the difference between external control and inner authority, a force that makes the comfortable uneasy and the powerful wary. Through it, we begin to understand why some knowledge has always been hidden, why some truths are deliberately shrouded in darkness, and why even those who can command armies, finance, and influence cannot master the shadow that the Black Sun illuminates. It is in this paradox that we will begin our journey, tracing the symbol's roots, its appropriation, its uses, and the enduring reason for the fear it inspires across centuries. The Black Sun does not emerge from a single moment in history, nor from a single culture. Its origins are diffuse, winding through ancient mythologies where solar deities were both revered and feared, embodiments of life, death, and the relentless cycles of time. In cultures across the globe, the sun has always symbolized a hidden power that governs existence, an energy that shapes the seasons, the psyche, and the natural order. In these early myths, the sun was more than a source of light. It was a source of inner illumination, a divine force that could both nurture life and expose truths that mortals were ill-prepared to face. The black sun, in its essence, carries this duality, representing a light that does not simply warm or reveal, but pierces the deepest shadows of the mind, demanding awareness of aspects of existence that are otherwise ignored or suppressed. In the esoteric traditions, the black sun becomes something more than a celestial phenomenon. It is a symbol of hidden knowledge, of illumination that comes from confronting what is unseen rather than what is plainly visible. Within the practices of alchemy and hermeticism, the black sun represents the transformative processes of dissolution and rebirth, the shadows that must be navigated before any true inner light can emerge. Alchemical texts describe it as a necessary darkness, a moment of coagulation before the philosopher's stone can reveal its power. Mystics have long associated the black sun with cycles of death and renewal, emphasizing that transformation is impossible without the confrontation of inner shadows, the unmasking of illusions, and the collapse of ego-driven attachments. This is why the symbol carries an almost electric resonance for those who seek to understand the hidden dynamics of power and consciousness, revealing that influence is not merely a matter of manipulation or dominance, but of alignment with forces that operate beyond the conventional plane of authority. Across different mythologies, the black sun takes on subtle variations while retaining its essential meaning. In Norse traditions, the sun's hidden counterpart is associated with Ragnarok, the cataclysmic cycle of destruction and rebirth, a reminder that even the highest powers are subject to forces they cannot control. In Eastern mysticism, hidden solar motifs often represent the interplay of yin and yang, the necessary darkness within light, and the importance of integrating the shadow to attain enlightenment. These symbolic threads converge in the concept of the black sun, emphasizing its role as a mediator between hidden knowledge and visible reality, between mortality and transcendence. It is not merely a passive symbol to be admired or feared. It is an active force, demanding engagement, reflection, and the courage to confront the unconscious dimensions of human existence. The esoteric interpretations solidify the black sun as an archetype that transcends simple representation. Alchemy, hermeticism, and other mystical traditions consistently link it with cycles of inner transformation, shadow work, and the attainment of insight that is inaccessible to ordinary perception. It represents the profound tension between light and dark, life and death, control and surrender, and embodies the transformative energies that underlie personal power. This dual nature, simultaneously destructive and illuminating, is what makes the black sun so compelling, so dangerous, and so feared by those who operate exclusively within conventional structures of authority. To understand it is to glimpse a force that cannot be dominated, only engaged with, and those who have attempted to bypass its lessons often find themselves humbled or undone. The black sun, in its historical and esoteric origins, stands as a bridge between myth, philosophy, and the hidden architecture of human consciousness. It is a symbol that has always existed at the margins, yet its influence reaches into the heart of human experience, reminding us that true power is not measured by wealth, armies, or titles, but by the ability to navigate and integrate the shadows that govern both the external world and the inner self. In the next section, we will explore how this enigmatic symbol was adopted and distorted in occultism, tracing its path from ancient mysteries to secret societies, and revealing why even those who think themselves untouchable remain wary of the force the black sun represents. By the early 20th century, the black sun had emerged from the shadowed corners of ancient myth and esoteric practice to take on a distinctly modern and deeply troubling presence within occultism. In Germany, a network of secret societies obsessed with the mystical and the metaphysical began to reinterpret ancient symbols as tools for power and identity, and the black sun found a place among them. It was within the Ariosophist movements and the Thule Society, organizations that merged mystical speculation with nationalist ideology, that the symbol was not only codified, but also weaponized. For these groups, the black sun became a signifier of hidden supremacy, a mystical emblem promising access to primordial energies that supposedly granted their adherents an advantage beyond the reach of conventional knowledge. It was simultaneously a metaphor for internal mastery and an external banner for ideologies rooted in domination, elitism, and an almost fanatical pursuit of control. The appropriation of the black sun by such movements illustrates the tension between its symbolic and literal interpretations. For some, it remained a spiritual tool, a representation of inner transformation and the alchemical processes of death and rebirth. For others, it became a talisman of power, a badge of superiority to be invoked in rituals designed to consolidate influence over both the mind and the environment. This duality between inner illumination and external assertion captures the paradox at the heart of the black sun. It is profoundly threatening to those who rely solely on conventional systems of control because it cannot be coerced, purchased, or dictated. Its power lies in its capacity to transform the individual, to bypass external hierarchies, and to expose the illusory foundations of social and political authority. Even beyond the dark chapters of Nazi esotericism, the black sun has continued to influence modern occult and secret societies, albeit in less overtly political ways. Practitioners of contemporary mysticism, neo-alchemy, and shadow work often adopt it as a focal point for meditation, ritual, or personal transformation. It is invoked not to dominate others, but to master oneself, to confront the shadow aspects of personality, and to undergo profound internal change that reflects outwardly in perception, decision-making, and the subtle exercise of influence. Where traditional symbols of power, crowns, scepters, flags, demand obedience, the black sun operates as a mirror, forcing individuals to confront their own limitations, insecurities, and hidden drives. Its study is rigorous, unsettling, and transformative, and the results are unpredictable, which explains why even those who wield immense external authority approach it with caution or outright avoidance. In many ways, the black sun functions as a silent critic of conventional hierarchies. It reminds those who attempt to control others that true power is not merely coercive. It emerges from alignment with forces beyond superficial appearances, from the integration of shadow and light, and from the understanding of truths that cannot be bought, sold, or legislated. This makes it fundamentally subversive. While secret societies, elite cabals, and occult practitioners have tried to harness its power, the black sun remains untamable, resisting full comprehension and defying absolute domination. Its presence in ritual, symbolism, and esoteric practice is as much a warning as it is a promise. Mastery over the self cannot be separated from the confrontation with the hidden and the forbidden. The historical and esoteric journey of the black sun demonstrates why it has been both coveted and feared. Unlike conventional instruments of authority, which can be displayed, enforced, or replicated, the black sun cannot be imposed externally. It demands engagement, introspection, and transformation that bypass the ordinary structures of control. It is precisely this capacity to operate outside the norms of power that has rendered it a perpetual source of anxiety for elites, from mystical societies to modern organizations who recognize that a symbol so entwined with inner authority cannot be subordinated to the superficial hierarchies that dominate everyday life. In the next section, we will delve into this fear more directly, exploring why even the wealthiest, most influential figures are drawn to avoid the black sun, and what it represents as a threat to centralized hierarchical power. The black sun is feared not because it can be wielded like a sword, not because it can be hoarded like gold, and not because it can be displayed like a crown, but because it operates on a plane entirely outside conventional systems of control. For elites who have built their influence through manipulation, hierarchy, and the careful orchestration of power structures, the black sun represents a force they cannot dominate. It embodies inner authority rather than external control, a principle that threatens every mechanism through which centralized power is maintained. To encounter it is to face a reality in which wealth, position, and influence are irrelevant, where the rules of dominance are overturned by the alignment of consciousness and the confrontation with the shadow. This alone is enough to make even the most powerful wary of the symbol, for it bypasses their carefully constructed frameworks of obedience and reveals the fragility of systems built entirely on fear, illusion, and social engineering. The black sun also carries a deep connection to hidden knowledge, the kind of understanding that has historically been withheld from the masses. Within its symbolic resonance lies the promise of truths that can destabilize authority. Insights into the cyclical nature of life and death, the structure of consciousness, and the potential to navigate reality without reliance on the conventional hierarchies that elites have spent centuries enforcing. Accessing this knowledge is not a matter of academic study or credentialed expertise. It is a direct confrontation with forces that operate at the level of the psyche and spirit, a personal initiation into a realm where the illusions of power dissolve. For those who depend on manipulating others, consolidating influence, and maintaining illusions of control, the idea that an individual could bypass these structures entirely is profoundly threatening. The black sun is not simply a symbol. It is a tool that, when properly engaged, can render superficial authority meaningless, exposing both the wielder and those who would claim to rule to truths that cannot be censored or suppressed. Psychologically, the black sun is intimately tied to shadow work, the rigorous process of facing one's hidden fears, desires, and aspects of self that are usually ignored or denied. This is perhaps its most frightening aspect for elites accustomed to projecting control outwardly while avoiding internal confrontation. Engaging with the black sun demands the collapse of ego-driven systems, the acknowledgement of mortality, and the willingness to navigate moral, spiritual, and existential ambiguities. It is an invitation to transformation that requires courage, self-honesty, and resilience, qualities that cannot be granted by titles, money, or coercion. For those accustomed to exercising influence by shaping perception and maintaining hierarchical order, the black sun represents an entirely different paradigm, one in which control is internal and cannot be transferred or imposed externally. In this sense, it is a direct challenge to the very foundations of centralized power, exposing its limitations and vulnerabilities in ways that conventional threats never could. The fear of the black sun also arises from its unpredictability. While a bank, a political office, or a military force can be quantified, evaluated, and strategized against, the transformative power of the black sun is entirely subjective and internal. Its effects are subtle yet profound, manifesting in shifts in consciousness, perception, and self-mastery that cannot be easily anticipated or contained. This is what makes it so dangerous in the eyes of those who rely on control and certainty. It introduces a variable that cannot be regulated, a force that is entirely outside the structures designed to preserve dominance. Even a fleeting engagement with its energy can unbalance hierarchies, destabilize networks of influence, and awaken an inner authority that challenges conventional systems of obedience. In this way, the black sun is not merely a symbol of potential power. It is a mirror of the limitations of power itself, reflecting back the fragility of structures built on illusion, fear, and manipulation. The threat is amplified by its enduring presence in history and culture. Across centuries, societies have attempted to suppress, appropriate, or co-opt the black sun, yet it continually re-emerges, often in places least expected. For elites, its persistence is a reminder that certain forces cannot be permanently controlled or eliminated, that some knowledge, insight, and transformation will always lie beyond the reach of material influence. It embodies a paradox. The more centralized power becomes, the more it fears the very symbol that represents its potential transcendence. The black sun's significance is therefore both psychological and structural. It undermines externally imposed authority while simultaneously illuminating the potential for personal mastery, creating a dual threat to those who define power through domination rather than understanding. Even in the contemporary world, where power is measured in skyscrapers, stock portfolios, and media empires rather than swords or thrones, the black sun continues to exert an elusive influence, manifesting not in overt displays, but in subtle symbols, architecture, and ritualized practices that hint at a deeper engagement with its transformative energy. Across the corridors of elite culture, from financial institutions to political networks, from media conglomerates to exclusive societies, the symbol of the black sun appears as a quiet, almost hidden motif, a reminder that influence and authority are not solely dependent on external control. It manifests in the spirals of certain architectural designs, in recurring geometric patterns within private estates, in coded art, and in the ritualized behavior of groups who seek to connect with forces beyond ordinary perception. These appearances are rarely blatant. They are deliberately obscured, a hidden language for those who understand the resonance of power that transcends conventional structures, a testament to the ongoing fascination with a symbol that represents mastery over the unseen and the unknowable. In addition to architecture and ritual, the black sun surfaces in media, art, and cultural symbols in ways that often go unnoticed by the general public. Its influence can be found in film, literature, and imagery that evoke the cycles of darkness and illumination, the confrontation with the shadow, and the transformative potential of inner authority. It operates as a sort of encoded warning, a signal that some forces cannot be contained or appropriated by conventional hierarchies. Even in financial and political spheres, the patterns and symbolism associated with the black sun serve as subtle reminders of knowledge and power that operate outside the reach of money, legislation, and influence, suggesting that there exist dimensions of control and transformation that cannot be bought, manipulated, or regulated. For those attuned to these signs, the black sun is a compass, guiding understanding of forces that are often invisible yet profoundly effective. The transformative potential of the black sun is perhaps its most unsettling aspect for modern elites. It is not a tool of domination in the traditional sense. It cannot coerce or command. Instead, it operates as an agent of personal awakening, demanding that the individual confront hidden aspects of self, question the foundations of their influence, and integrate the shadow elements of their consciousness. This inner authority challenges external hierarchies, revealing that the most profound power lies not in the ability to control others, but in the capacity to master oneself. In this way, the black sun represents a dual possibility: spiritual awakening and empowerment on one hand, and societal disruption on the other. Those who engage with it cannot help but perceive the fragility of systems built solely on fear, deception, or rigid hierarchy, and the consequences of this awareness are destabilizing both internally and externally. What makes the black sun particularly relevant today is its paradoxical nature. It is both omnipresent and invisible, influential yet undetectable by conventional measurement, deeply feared yet persistently ignored. Elites, who rely on predictability, control, and social conformity, instinctively shy away from confronting its energy, because to do so is to expose oneself to truths that cannot be controlled or contained. At the same time, its symbolic power continues to permeate culture, ritual, and even technological and financial systems, suggesting that, consciously or unconsciously, humanity has always recognized the force it represents. The Black Sun's resonance is timeless. It bridges ancient esoteric wisdom with modern expressions of power and influence, reminding us that there are realms of authority that cannot be codified or imposed, but only accessed through courage, insight, and transformation. Ultimately, the modern relevance of the Black Sun lies in its ability to illuminate what cannot be illuminated by conventional power. It challenges assumptions, exposes vulnerabilities, and calls into question the very structures through which authority is exercised. Its subtle presence in contemporary elite culture, hidden in architecture, symbology, and ritualized behavior, demonstrates that even in an age dominated by material control, the forces of inner transformation, shadow engagement, and personal mastery retain a power that is both enduring and dangerous to those who seek to dominate the world without understanding themselves. In the next section, we will examine the paradoxical fear it inspires, the reasons why even the most influential individuals avoid its energy, and the profound implications of confronting a force that cannot be controlled externally.